Welcome on in, everybody. Tobin here with you. Hope everybody's doing fantastic out there. Thank you for checking us on out. If you could subscribe, that means a lot to me. If you don't want to subscribe, you're just passing by, that's cool too. Whatevs, dude. Miami Heat, they'll be back in action on Wednesday. They are playing the non-in-season tournament games. I gotta be honest with you, I didn't even know this was like part of the formula. This whole in-season tournament thing has done nothing for me. And you can go back. Like, I've been steady on this. It's not just because the Heat aren't in a thing. But I was like, when I was writing out my schedule, because I write out my schedule all the time, like, what happens in the week with it? Do they just not have games? Apparently, they get two bootleg games. That's your punishment for for not being in the in-season tournament. Although Boston, shout out, you guys really showed up in another elimination game. You know, that's just classic Celtics, But I am concerned with the Miami Heat, and we talked a little bit in the last video about Jimmy Butler's comments, and he had said that, he thinks right now the Miami Heat are mediocre. And I think part of the reason is that they may really not know the future of their big man, Bam Adebayo. I also think that, looking back on Jimmy and his comments, saying that after, they gave up a gazillion points in the second half on, what would they shoot? They shot the lights out, the Pacers. I do think that there's not a shame in losing that team. There obviously been a handful offensively for a lot of teams this year. They're flawed, but they're a pain in the ass to play. And not having Bam was it was a killer. And not having him has been a killer. They're 1-3 without him so far this year. And reading some of the quotes from the Miami Herald today, I don't feel great about where things are at with Bam. This has been a very durable player in his career. Does not miss a lot of time for injury. Outside and especially nagging injuries. He's a guy that the one year he got really hurt was in 21-22. That was the year that he were the 1 seed, and this happened very early on in the year. And he only played 56 games that year. He still played lights out, played amazing. I remember being at the game that he got hurt. He hurt his hand. I don't remember if it was going for a block or a dunk, but I remember him just flexing his hand, gripping his hand. I remember asking about him after the game, and he completely blew me off. This is a guy that does not, Bam and I obviously have a pretty cool media-player relationship. Very, very cordial, very professional. Has a lot of fun on the show. We'll mess around back and forth. So I was like, oh, okay. That was an odd answer. And sure as bleep, he was out, had a thumb surgery that kept him out for a while. And other than that, the one thing that was going into that year is he was dealing with something was going on with his knee. So I think it did allow him to, to kind of get back. But that was definitely the year where he dealt with his most injuries. Last year, 75 games. A couple of years ago, 72 games. In the shortened lockout year, he played 64. So obviously not a full season, but, a year before that, he played 82 games. This has been a very durable player in his career. So for him in the 20-game mark to miss a fifth of the season is concerning. And he's not going to play tomorrow, and it doesn't really sound like he will play on Friday. His quotes today to the Miami Herald were pretty, concerning. He was asked about, this is from Barry, or is this? Yeah, it's from Barry. Barry Jackson in the Miami Herald. Adebayo said Tuesday that while his hip has improved, there is no specific target date for his return. Could he return Friday against the Cavaliers, which seems like a long shot, or next week? Bam's response, quote, I have no idea. This is new to me to be on the sideline. I get reevaluated when the team gets back from Toronto. We'll have the conversation then. Barry also writes, on Tuesday, he shot jumpers after practice, didn't move around much. Bam says, quote, I haven't started doing much basketball stuff. No contact. Everything else I've been doing is shooting and stuff like that. That has been fine. He goes on to say the best thing is for it is rest. And that's what I've been trying to do these past couple days. Very boring, but this is the process. And when he asked about the mobility on his hip, he said, quote, baby steps, haven't even gotten that far. None of that, any of it, at all, makes you feel comfortable about where the Heat star big man is at. And yeah, it's a bit of a bummer because first of all, one, he's awesome. Two, he was probably having, the best start to a season he's ever had in his career. There was some early all NBA buzz. He was playing like a madman. They also have not been very good at him. I told you the number, they're 1-3. And, even with Jimmy, Jimmy is the star of this team, and in playoff Jimmy's still like the alpha, the go-to guy, I would say, in crunch time situations, as we saw with the Knicks game, which is probably like the time this got really, really bad was that Knicks game where like it was really, really bugging him. Probably had something to do with the loss, sat out. Jimmy, of course, tweaked his ankle in that game. And then he came back for the Bucks game, and he was awesome. Awesome. But it has not been great when he is unable to get on the court. And I think it was pointed out, I wish I could remember. I think it was, I don't know if it was Wes or Brady who said it on Twitter, so I apologize, boys. But one of them pointed out, I think the only game they've won without him, they shot like nearly 60% from three against Cleveland. So that's what it's going to take. I mean, they're going to have to go bombs away to go win because this guy is he's your heartbeat. He's everything for this team. There's a reason he's the captain. And, you got to be smart about it for sure, even though he is a guy who hates to miss time. But he is older now. He's as guys do get up. I'm not saying he's got to pull an Anthony Davis and miss 3 weeks or whatever. But he's 26. He's not 23. And you do have to. And Ban's probably got a huge contract extension coming his way after this season as well. So I think it probably is going to be prudent for him to be smart about it as well. And the other thing that the Heat, it's tough not to be in this mode with the Miami Heat is that. Because there's an element of their record is where it is right now because they've been so banged up and because of what they've been able to do in past years with this core, specifically Jimmy and Bam. The panic level is going to be quite low. And they're going to approach it, I think, with a lot of caution, especially with him. But listen, this is one of the things, when Jimmy says that it's been a mediocre year, it's also been a tough year to evaluate. Nobody likes to say it because it feels like we have been talking about a lot of the same guys for many years in a row. But I think you've seen a lot of good with this team. I think we've seen this team do some pretty great stuff. And especially with the addition of Jaime Jaquez, it feels like a huge X factor for them and what they can be. With Caleb getting healthy again, it's just a matter of your stars. I methis is not just been, they're lacking a lot of bodies. No, they're lacking the bodies. Jimmy's ankle, Tyler's ankle, and now Bam's hip. These have been big concerns. And you could clearly see at the start of the season, Jimmy was not right. It does feel like he's cranking things up in the right direction, but it's typically a little bit earlier than you want Jimmy to ramp it up all the way. This is supposed to be Bam and Tyler time. This is supposed to be when the young duo, as Pat Riley said, that they take the step up and take the burden off Jimmy. So Jimmy is ready and fresh as a daisy because right now it's like, well, who do you look to? You look to Kyle to light it up from three. It's a problem. It's not going to be easy sledding. And as far as Tyler's concerned, there's not a lot of clarity on that either. The update today from him was he remains out with an ankle injury. He's doing on-court work after practice. Spoelstra says he's not sure when he will partake in contact practices. And, you just think about that. And you're like, damn. So Tyler got hurt. What is the date here now on Tyler and his injury? Nope, wrong game log. So Tyler got hurt against Memphis. Game 7 of the season. So he's missed 13 games now, and that game that he got hurt was on November 8th. So we're coming up on a month. We'll be at a month by the end of the week with him not cleared for practice. That's tough, man. Yeah, I don't know, the Heat. Like sometimes they'll they'll keep things under wraps. And then, I remember Justice Winslow. Oh, today, season over. Oh, Goran Dragic, he's coming back. Oh, he's getting knee surgery. Like, they keep these things under wraps. It's tougher these days, I suppose, with anything. But, Tyler is, not being cleared for contact. Bam, not cleared for contact. And you having to go to Jimmy. I'm like, look, I think the only thing that we'll say is it's going to leave a lot for the plate of the young rookie Jaime Jaquez Jr. and seeing what can he be as he's going to basically be the co-star for this team. I don't think he'll start. I think Spo's going to keep him in that bench role. I think he likes that, especially with the way that he closes. He's using him very similar to how he used Tyler in the 6th man of the year role. Not necessarily in playing style, but like in rotation style. Like he's that first guy off. He comes in with Kevin Love, and then comes in late there in the 3rd and basically closes out. Like that's Jaime time. That's when he goes out there and makes things happen. Speaking of Jaime, I appreciate him joining the radio show today. Buzzer beater. This is what happens when you do studio work in your garage. But appreciate him joining and having some fun with the show today. And congratulations to him to winning Eastern Conference Rookie of the Month. That is some good news in what has been a tough go. Haywood Highsmith also still hurt. So technically the Heat are without basically 3 starters right now. It's not fun. It's not fun right now in Heatland. So they got to get back out on the road yet again. They spent a lot of time out on the road, and then they get to basically finish the entire month of December basically at home. I think with like 1 trip to Charlotte and 1 trip to Orlando. So basically after this trip up north, they'll be at home through Christmas before they have to go out west. The question is, who the hell is going to be available for them?